Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. Of course, that means Sandy Kreisberg, the
Hello,
founder
everybody. Happy Friday.
of
Happy late
HBSGuru.com
spring.
and the reader of Harvard Business School tea leaves, among others. We have with us a non-traditional MBA candidate. His name is Charlie. Number one. And this is out of the box a little bit. He's 35 years old, but he really wants to go to a full-time MBA program. He doesn't really want to do an executive MBA. Number two, he comes from a background that isn't necessarily traditional. He is, in fact, the director and lead coach of a cycling program at a university, where he's also an adjunct professor. He has great stats, a 3.9 GPA and a 740 GMAT, which will do a lot of talking for him. But there is that age thing and there is that non-traditional thing. So Sandy, what do you think?
Well, we got a 3.9, a 740, and a 35-year-old. So you've got great stats, except for the 35-year-old. You want to go to the schools you listed were of your choices are Kellogg, Duke, Ross, LBS, and Wharton. And then during our pre-discussion, John made a incredibly great suggestion. So let's get to that to the top. What was your suggestion as to school choice?
Well, we had a conversation about Charlie's ultimate post-MBA goals. And it sounds to me like he would like to be in a position where he influences a company's human capital policies in a positive way. And given his background and given that interest, I thought an ideal job for him would be at Nike, doing exactly what he wants to do. And, you know, a great feeder to Nike doesn't have to be an elite business school. In fact, the University of Oregon has an excellent MBA program. They are a natural feeder into Nike. Nike supports the school, loves the school, recruits a lot of people from it. So with the university.
Okay, hey Charlie, just react to that. You're looking really down in the mouth there.
Well, so to give some of it away, I really hope to return to the Midwest as well. That's where I grew up. I recently had a daughter. She's 2 months old now, and I would love for her.
Mazel tov. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you got her on a tricycle yet?
I can put her on a trailer behind my bike at 9 months. I've looked it up. Yeah, I want to bring her closer to her family.
Yeah, that's understandable. And look, you know, Michigan and Kellogg, you know, they could take a shot with you, even at 35. They really could.
I hope so.
I think your chances are they like Kellogg has an alley for non-traditional people. The question is, are you their kind of non-traditional person? What do you think, John?
Well, one benefit with Kellogg is that you can talk your way in. You know, you automatically can get an interview. And I think it's essential to your candidacy at Kellogg to go interview with them, if you can, on campus, because things are opening up and they may agree to that in the fall. And I think you ought to go there, kick the tires. You ought to look up some Nike alums who work from Kellogg.
Okay, and let's just do a little quick mock interview here at Kellogg. Charlie, you ready? Hey, Charlie, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. How come you're getting an MBA at age 35?
Well, I'm looking to, like most MBA candidates, make a pivot, right? But I combine the geographic pivot with the positional pivot and the field pivot. You know, I'm working.
Okay, stop right there. Hey, this is valuable for everybody watching. John, grade that answer so far.
Well, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I'd say, look, the vast.
It is bad, and let me tell you why.
Tell me why.
It's you used the word pivot 4 times. That's acceptable in certain types of presentations. Obviously, if you're doing a presentation to a group of buyers and pivoting is part of your product, you can use the word pivot a lot. The key thing about business school interviews got to be conversational.
Okay.
And you sound scripted, which is the death knell.
Right. I guess I've been reading too much poets and quants, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Well, you haven't been reading the right parts of poets and quants.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Making your interview conversational is on poets and quants, including.
Yeah, I mean, look, what you're trying to do is what with almost just 95% of people who apply to business school do. They want a career switch. And you're motivated to make that career switch because your background doesn't indicate any real, reservoir of knowledge about the business basics, which you absolutely need. They're essential to you to make.
Okay, yeah, John, great. You would do fine in the interview. Charlie, let's start again.
Yeah. Okay.
Same question. Hey, buddy. Glad I cycle myself. I'm glad to meet you. A lot of great stuff here. But let me ask you a question. How come you want an MBA at age 35?
I want to work in business, and I never have before. I don't have a background that suggests any particular business knowledge. I have a lot of soft skills.
John, tell them how bad that answer is.
I don't know. Is it that bad, really?
Yeah. The schools don't want 35-year-olds who want to work in business and never have before. They want people. What you need to say is, I want to go to business school. I want to go to business school. The business way of saying never is build out. Okay.
Build out.
Yeah. Okay. You don't say, I've never had sex. What you want to say is, I want to build out my relationships with people. You get the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The subtleties.
Yeah. So let's continue the mock interview. Could you tell me what you're doing now?
I work for Midwestern State University. I teach a class there in kinesiology, but my main responsibility is heading up the cycling team that we have here.
Could you tell me about that? I'm not familiar with schools with cycling teams.
I'm sorry, John, what did you say?
A good, concise answer, and we like how you stopped.
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to prompt another question about that because I love my job. The cycling team is one of 25 varsity cycling programs in the country. So we do scholarships, and then we have head coaches, just like any other NCAA sport, except we're not actually an NCAA sport. We compete at a national championship in 5 different disciplines. And so I'm heading up a team of about 20 people, co-ed, and right now I think we're represented by about 8 or 9 different nations. So it's very international, very exciting, and we're very competitive. We've won 11 titles in my time here.
Great. What job do you want right after business school?
I would like to be in a leadership role of some kind that influences gender equity. So I want to work in corporate social responsibility.
John, you think that's a good answer?
It's a little vague. Maybe there is where you say, the job I really want is held by a guy I really admire, and his name is blank, and he does this. Wouldn't that be a better way?
That's always a good, yeah. I want X's job is always a good answer.
Yeah.
But in your case, you've got an added burden. This question of what job do you want right after business school? Okay, that's a pleasant way of saying, man, what the hell are you talking about? You're going to be 37 years old. Yeah, I dare you to tell me a job you want. That's really the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
Well, now that you get it,
okay. Yeah, sorry.
Let's do a redo. Take 2.
Okay, so to go from that, I have a woman that I coached. She lived in Singapore at the time, but she's now married to a man in Scotland. And he had gone up in the oil industry, but now he works for a watchdog agency that monitors companies greenwashing. Basically, he takes a look at what they're doing, what they say they're doing, and see if that matches.
Well, this is too much backstory. You haven't even begun to answer the question. The question is, what job do you want after business school? You've got to answer it bang.
ethics advisor at a sports company.
That's
Well, I don't know.
all right. That's what
Yeah.
that's why
This is good.
that's why we're beating you up and not the actual interviewer. So,
Yeah.
you really need a roadmap, and you really got to research a roadmap. I would say an answer for you is, I think I'd like to join a consulting company, a boutique consulting company like X or Y that gets engaged in issues of social responsibility and business ethics. Look,
And
hey,
they say
John,
like
those
what, and I don't know yet.
Well, here,
look,
here you
well,
go.
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
let me
I
ask
gotta.
you a question. Let me ask you a question. Charlie, have you ever heard of HIG, H-I-G-G?
No.
Okay. They're an organization that does exactly what your Scottish friend does.
Okay.
And it might be a good idea to research them because they're very much, an extremely hot company right now. I had drinks with a venture capitalist out here in Silicon Valley the other night, and he was just talking and raving about them because they just got to deal with Amazon. Research them, and maybe the founder is the guy you want to be in your life.
What company is that, John?
Called HIG, H-I-G-G. It's out of Silicon Valley.
And what do they do?
They literally do a major compliance job on all the factories in the world for the companies that want to basically hook up
Yeah,
with
thank you very
outsourced
much.
companies.
John, I'm so glad you joined these conversations. You
Yeah, they
know
publicly
so
traded.
much. The word is compliance. That's
Yeah.
what you want to get involved
it.
in. That's your industry.
Got it.
I want to be a leader in compliance, and particularly compliance to social norms and green norms, etc. And then you do a little homework on compliance companies, and you bone up on it, and you can then talk about 3 or 4 people in the industry, and it makes it sound like, hey, this guy really knows what he's talking about, and compliance is such a funky area, they actually might hire a guy like him.
Totally, they could see that, and you know what? That because they're not going to be concerned about your age like some other traditional mainstream MBA recruiters.
37 is when people retire from McKinsey, and I am not kidding. They retire from McKinsey with millions of dollars and start their own companies.
Yeah.
Good.
So is there something that he needs to say to alleviate any concern that he's going to be too old in the classroom with younger people?
That's not really. Well, pose it as a question. Do you think you'd fit in? Yeah, I want to pose this as a question to see how good a business school answer you can give. Do you think you'd fit in with a class where most of the students are younger?
Absolutely. I work with students of all ages all the time. Many students that attend the university that I'm at now are non-traditional. So I actually haven't been the oldest person as part of that cycling team the entire time, but I've worked with many more people who are younger. And not only have they been peers, but they become friends as well. I've been the groomsman. In
Yeah, you're talking about how you'd fit in socially.
Okay.
With younger people. What you need is here's a better answer. I've observed a lot of business school classes, and I've seen business school classes on the internet. And actually, you should try and, if you can, see classes from your target schools. Yeah. I've seen your video about a model class at Kellogg. Yeah, and what I was impressed with in that class was how active and diverse the student views were. And I think I could not only fit in, but add to that.
Yeah.
Given my unique background.
That's a perfect answer. The other
I'm taking an accounting class right now, actually, at the university here, just to get a feel for some business courses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can say I'm in a classroom right now, and I know how it works, even though it's accounting. It's
okay. Now, Sandy, what the other part of this is? Look, He knows a lot about cycling. Obviously, he's passionate about it. Shouldn't he say, and I'm really looking forward to starting a cycling club on campus? So
Yeah,
immediately,
you can say,
you want to
John, I'm impressed with your cycling accomplishments. And I like cycling myself in a recreational way. The schools, you're not going to get a lot of points for the cycling stuff. I just don't think so. You'll get a point. You'll get a lot of points for being accomplished in X, but X could be anything. Cycling doesn't ring their bell, although they say this is a guy who's accomplished a lot in something he's passionate about. If you get the difference, cycling per se doesn't ring their bell, I don't think. John?
Yeah, I think, well, okay, one thing where I think they would like is if they know someone's going to come and actually contribute to their culture and their community, that's always helpful.
Yeah, you could say, and I'd like to start a cycling team or build out the team, sure.
You know, Sam,
Yeah,
the other thing we didn't explore here is, as director and head coach, do you actually manage people?
Manage like under me?
Yeah.
It is a department of one. Occasionally I've had a graduate assistant. So one of the grad students are eligible for our team. But for the most part, it's managing their time and their schedules and things like that. So I have lots of students who essentially work for me because they're earning scholarships, but they are not officially tied to me in an employment capacity.
Okay, you could turn that into a positive by saying, that even though they're not direct employees, I've got to manage people with complicated schedules.
Yeah, and I also, one of my roles here is as the race director of the Hotter than Hell 100. It's a volunteer position, but that involves hiring about 50 race staff and managing over 100 volunteers with that.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, that's actually more management than most people applying to business school have.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sandy, if you like writing, come do the Hotter than Hell sometime.
Plus, I mentioned that you're dealing, at least psychologically, with a lot of young people who are under a lot of pressure in a competitive situation.
Very much so, yes.
Well, tell me about how you built out Hotter than Hell. You've got some very powerful accomplishments here. What do you think made you successful? That's one of their classic questions.
I have excellent mentorship. The person who founded that organization is now 78 years old, and he works as hard as he did probably when he was 40 years old or 20 years old. He's very responsible, very organized. He knows how to delegate responsibility. And most importantly, I think he's reliable. And so if someone comes to him, if he doesn't have the answer, and he won't pretend that he does, he doesn't act like he's God.
Yeah, that's a nice answer to a different question. The question I want you to answer is, how did you build out the Hotter than Hell Club? And the answer they're expecting is, that's a good question. When I joined in year X, the club was at this state, and the club is now at this state. And the way I built it out was in a number of ways. I managed to convince people to work for me, even though it's a nonprofit. I actually got funding. Even though it's a nonprofit, that doesn't mean there's no money involved. We don't use monopoly money. I got funding from this and that. So I was a fundraiser. I wore a lot of hats, including a cycling cap. And I think I was able to be a good advertiser. What do they call that? Someone who's talking about a profit, an advertiser, a guy who was telling everybody how good it is.
Hype man.
Yeah, I made relationships. I developed relationships with the school and the faculty.
Okay, if I may, one of the things that I did was really focus on building up the women's participation. And so I did away with a couple of sexist traditions that the organization still held on to.
Yeah, that's good too. So how did you do that? How did you do that?
First, I just actively recruited women's racers. I showed up to a lot of races all over the country, talked to the women racers, told them about my event, and said, hey, I really want you to come. One of the things we're doing this year is equalizing prize money. which was unheard of at the time that I did it. And then the second thing is the traditional podium ceremony. I don't know how much you know about cycling, but when you win a race, they get the flowers and girls in short dresses give you a kiss on either cheeks. Got rid of the women, replaced them with puppies. All of those puppies were adoptable dogs. They gave the same kisses and they were a lot more adorable. Got rid of that sexist tradition and the crowd just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. If you can find a spot to put it in there. Tell me the status of it now. What is it now?
Hotter than Hell 100?
Yeah.
We are preparing for the 2021 edition in person. So last year we went virtual and participated. Either you could do the ride on your own and upload it to us and we'd send you your prize, your t-shirt and everything else. Or you could compete on this platform called Ruvi, which is a virtual cycling platform that you can use to race each other. But we're back in person this year.
And when is what is the 4 days? Did I miss that? When is the event?
It will be August 26th through the 29th this year.
Oh, hotter than hell. Sure. Yeah, that's
yeah, North Texas. It truly is over 100 degrees every day.
Woof. Good one. Tell me what you did at Breakaway Bikes and Fitness.
Okay, so I worked at Breakaway Bikes and Fitness starting as a retail salesperson while I was in graduate school over the summer. The role there sort of evolved. My boss took advantage of my interests and curiosity and brought me on to teach me how to coach people. From there, I started doing coaching, more and more classes, taking on private clients, and eventually he elevated me to the position of Director of Performance Operations.
And that's what you did after college, right?
After college, while in graduate school. So it was still sort of a part-time position that sucked up more and more of my time.
You're an ABD like a lot of people I know.
Yeah, academia,
including myself.
There you go.
Sometimes this comes up. Tell me about your decision to go to Augustina College, if that's the way you pronounce it.
Augustina College. Well, I wish I would have put more time into the decision, but given where it led me to, I'm really happy with it. I grew up 90 minutes east of there, and I had a girlfriend who was living nearby, and so I wanted to stay close. I joined the honors program there. I was able to be involved in tennis and concert band and super involved in the theater. And so I was able to do a lot, which certainly appealed to me.
Yeah, but that's not why you went there. You got to focus. The question is how you made the decision. That's what they're searching for.
It was a good school that was close to home.
I lived nearby. I was interested in this level school. I wanted a small liberal arts school. I visited. I had friends there. I've given this speech 100 times. It's the most frequent question asked at business school interviews. Tell me about your decision to attend your undergraduate school. You really need it down. You go. At the time, I was living wherever I was living. I was interested in small liberal arts school. I visited. A guidance counselor suggested it. Those are the answers. Mm-hmm. Drop the girlfriend. They don't want to hear it.
Okay. If anything, you could say you wanted to be you're close to your family. You wanted to stay close to home.
Understood.
That's a real important wrap that everybody has to have down. Why did you go to that school?
Are you a first gen or not?
Sort of. My dad never went to college. Well, my mom and dad both dropped out of college after 1 year, got married. My mom went back while my dad was unemployed around 1995. So while I was in high school, or no, grade school.
Okay. So isn't that an important part of the answer, Sandy?
Yeah, it would be, look, maybe I'm being too harsh here. That's an acceptable part of the answer. The best way to answer the question is the model I've laid out 3 minutes ago and that I've laid out on this format 100 times. Went to high school here, was interested in this. My don't use that word, but my diligence, the way I investigated the question was talking to guidance counselors, talking to friends, whichever one of these things is accurate. Okay. I would not say.
And can you say right then, and my parents were proud of me because they went to college but dropped out. We're proud of my decision.
Sure.
Supported my decision because they went to college but both dropped out and never, and my mother didn't have the benefit of a college education until many, many years later.
I'm not sure that's buying you a lot. It may be viewed as being opportunistic. The purpose of the interview is not to make points. It's not to screw it up.
Yeah, I know, but you know, he's applying to some elitist places, and you know that they count on where you go undergrad a lot. And so I want him to have a good reason, just like you. I want to have a good reason to why he went to a school that's not highly selective or competitive.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that his mother was proud after he got in,
Yes.
is not part of that file.
Yeah.
Let's not argue about it.
Okay.
I think we're all clear on where we are. You need to explain why you went there, and then tell me about your experience. Well, here's one of their favorite questions. If you had to do your college experience over again, what would you do differently?
I probably would have spent more time focusing on beforehand in visiting other schools. I only applied to 4 schools, got into all of them, but I was only able to visit Augustana.
That's part of the selection process. Now, if you had to do your Augustina experience over again, what would you do differently?
It's really hard to say because I value my experience there tremendously. I was involved in a lot. I met my wife there. I met my best friends there. If I could change one thing, it would have been to take more classes in a variety of different subjects that I didn't. So economics and mathematics in particular.
Yeah, just you give very good answers. It just you go through a lot of throat clearing. Okay.
Yeah.
Do that in your head and then just give the answer. If I had it to do differently, I wish I had taken a perfect answer for folks out there. I wish I had taken Introduction to Computing or more code. I wish I'd learned how to code. I wish I coding and year abroad, if that was a possibility. Those are the answers.
Did that one.
Yeah. Okay. Where'd you go?
Paris, Rome, and London were where we were based. And then I was able to visit on weekends to a lot of different places, including Pompeii, the Normandy beaches, Vienna, Lucerne.
Good.
Traveled all over.
Okay, so then here's another logical question. So it's 2007. Tell me about your decision to enter a PhD program in philosophy at Temple.
Well, I was incredibly inspired by a professor of philosophy named Heidi Storrell at Augustana. She made me fall in love with the topic. My innate love for theater caused me to want to study philosophy of art, and Temple was the #1 aesthetic school in the country. So that's where I ended up.
Good. What was unexpected when you got there, both at Augustana and Temple?
At Temple, it was quite the culture shock to be living in a massive city, considering where I grew up and such the small school that I went to. So I felt isolated there. So that was a hard transition to make. But thankfully, cycling actually helped me through that a lot.
Okay. And then what was unexpected at
Augustine.
Augustana.
Augustana. Yeah.
What was expected at Augustana? Showing my age because it's been a while. I think the warmth of the community. I was immediately welcomed into the theater department, onto the tennis team, everything. They were all so generous and friendly right away.
Okay, I'll buy that as an answer. Was there anything unexpected about the demographic? There was a lot of kids. Yeah, there were a lot of kids from New York. That's always an answer.
There weren't. There were a lot of kids from suburban Chicago, as was expected.
Yeah,
it was a painfully white school as well, which I wouldn't make that same decision again with respect to that.
Okay. I wouldn't volunteer.
Right. Yeah.
So should we get the Charlie's odds?
Sure.
Wharton, let's go for his reach school.
I don't think you're getting into Wharton, man. Your stats are above theirs. Their stats are 3.6 and 7.18, and you got a 3.9 and a 7.40. That being the case, I just think the age and the lack of prestige jobs is.
Did TA there.
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't think that's gonna be your magic ticket in.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and then Kellogg would be your other top choice.
Yeah, that's number one.
Kellogg, you've got a better chance simply because they're more open to non-traditional stories, non-traditional resumes. What you have to do at Kellogg is really put it all together. The essay at Kellogg could be important to you. You've got to show how all this fits and what you want to do moving on.
You think he has a 30% shot at Kellogg or higher?
It ain't higher. Man, the age thing.
Yeah.
It's okay. You don't need me to bang this point. It's going to be tough to overcome.
Understood.
You need to show up and interview with him.
Yeah, 100%. I travel. If I fly home, I fly through Chicago. It's the way to get there.
And get in a classroom and have drinks or something with the students or whatever. You need to do that.
Ton of networking already.
Good.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to network your way into these schools and get lucky.
How about Duke and Ross? Those are better possibilities, I would think.
Because they're less selective, but even though they're less selective as a statistic, I think they're also less open to non-traditional stories. That's just a feel I have. John, would you say that as well or not?
Yeah, I agree. In both the admissions teams at those two schools really do a holistic review. They're not overly focused on a GMAT score. They're not overly focused on a GPA. They're going to look at you as a whole true individual and evaluate you before making a decision on you.
Understood.
LBS, I don't know. Would you want to go there?
Yes, if I got in. But yeah, absolutely.
Now the other question I would have for you is, would you be, I know that you kind of want to be in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Even though you've chosen London and Wharton probably because you're familiar with Philadelphia, given your Temple stay.
Yeah.
But I wonder if you would be open to just a few other schools just to hedge your bets.
Of course.
Because I think that, Indiana Kelly or Minnesota Carlson would be great for you. First off, Minneapolis is the kind of place where a lot of the companies that are keenly passionate about your own passions are headquartered. It really is. It's an incredibly progressive corporate community. And Carlson is really tied into it. And they've got a great MBA program.
My wife went to vet school there.
Indiana Kelly. Okay. Perfect place for you. You know the movie, the cycling movie in Bloomington.
Yeah, Breaking Away. Yep.
And not only that, but Indiana Kelly, man, that they will shape you. They'll put you through that program and make you exactly who you want to be when you get out. I just think, look, just to hedge your bets because you're 35.
Yeah.
I would apply to those two MBA programs. I really would.
Yeah.
We're going to call your movie, instead of Breaking Away, we're going to call your movie Getting Back In.
Yeah, no, the Zip Corporation is located in Indianapolis, and they're another socially responsible. They're owned by SRAM, based in Chicago.
Okay.
Very progressive company.
Yeah. And I would go visit them because I guarantee you, if you go visit Minnesota and Indiana, you're going to be much more enthused about them. and it's not like, I don't think you have any chance at all at Kellogg, Duke, or Ross. I think you do have a chance, but I'd like to hedge my bets and put those two schools on my list. And I would actually take off London Business School, and I'd take off Wharton. I wouldn't waste my time. And I do those apps for those 5 schools and see where you get.
Okay.
What do you think, Sandy? Isn't it good to have a couple of safety schools in the game here for him?
Yeah, of course. When you're 35, you just can't count on anything. You're going to have to schmooze your way in. You're going to have to network your way in addition to doing the normal application.
And a school like Minnesota, Indiana will probably give you money, incidentally, good because you're 740 and you're 3.9.
Yeah, you bring that. You've got that dowry going for you. That's a real plus.
Yeah,
it makes you a lot. A nice dowry makes up for some other for the fact you're older than most brides. Yeah.
Yeah, I frankly think I bombed the math and the GMAT too. So
I did notice that.
Yeah.
Am I remembering this correctly? You were 40 percentile?
48th. Yeah. Haven't taken a formal math class since I was 17, but I was 7th in the state of Illinois when I was in high school.
Okay, John, here's a real teaser. Here's a Sandy Kreisberg stinger question. How much stronger of a candidate is he with a 770 GMAT versus a 740?
I think 740 is good enough, but I would take an online math, advanced math course at a legitimate university, just to pad that low quant score.
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I got a graduate.
It's almost easier to take the GMAT again.
I guess you could, but God, since I hate standardized tests, I'm not going to recommend that.
Yeah.
Sandy is,
well, and there's no guarantee I'll do as well in the verbal.
You're saying a 770s would be a good idea for him.
I think I find this an interesting question. I'd like to get some admissions directors, either drunk or under torture conditions, and really say, look, I know what the lip service is. Is there a real difference between a 740 and a 770? I'll tell you this, I'll be willing to bet like $1,000 that the cohort of people applying with a 770 versus the cohort of people applying with a 740 have a higher percentage of admission.
That's probably true, but most of them are probably Indian software engineers.
Yeah, if you look at GMAT Club, the 770s have a higher acceptance rate.
Yeah, I get that, but but you're not in the general pool. You know what I mean? I mean, you're an exceptional kind of guy with an interesting background. Look, if you want to take GMAT again, obviously, Sandy.
I just want to follow.
Want to raise the issue.
Everything in life is pointing out the hypocrisy of business school admissions committee.
Yeah.
Okay. And they would tell you, they would all say, nah, 740 is fine. Come on, what are you, crazy?
I will say this, at Duke and Ross, you don't have to worry about it. Honestly, you're going to get a real holistic review. They're not going to be fixated on a score. All right, Charlie, good luck to you.
Thank you.
We're rooting for you. Let us know how it all turns out, okay? We really would appreciate that.
Yes, we'd be interested. Good luck there, Charlie.
And Sandy, thank you for a terrific, terrific session. This was one of the best ever, I think.
A lot of fun, yeah. Well, it's just a bunch of geezers getting together. That's
Let's get the AARP meeting on Tuesday.
I wish I were a 35-year-old geezer, and I'm sure Sandy, you do too.
I'm wearing a suit that fit me in high school. I'm just saying.
Hey.
I kept fit.
All right, everybody. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching Fridays with Sandy. Thank you for joining us.